Lynn, I just realized something. I had a bad childhood.
Yeah, I know.
What do you mean you know?
Look at you.
What do you mean look at me?
Look at how you stand. People who had good childhoods don't stand like that.
Kingdom Hearts is a very important series to me for a variety of reasons, and most of that stems from the first two games hitting me at the most important time in any person's media-literate life. Puberty! Now you think I'm joking, but if you've ever really thought about it, a lot of the things you enjoyed when you were about 12 to 17 are things you end up at least liking a bit when you're older. You may not have permanent brain rot like all of the rest of us, but there's stuff you engaged with during that age that just stuck with you. Like music. A lot of the music you like now might have roots in the things you just heard around that time. You're always seeking new experiences as a teenager. It's one of the struggles that, hopefully, we all understand. And if you didn't, well, it's time to take a look back. That being said, you kind of became a different person if you were a Kingdom Hearts fan back when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. Like, you permanently changed.
Don't hit the camera, man.
Dual wield!
That's my favorite game of all time. It's my everything. But I figured it's time to ruin it for myself and try and analyze the series from a longtime fan perspective. By the way, I just want to lay my cards out. If you're wondering why some of the footage in Kingdom Hearts 1 is crunchy, it's because Shadowplay absolutely shat itself while I was trying to stream this game, which normally doesn't happen, and I had to pivot to using this source record plugin on OBS, and it was, oh god, you can taste the pixels. Anyway, if it's stream footage you're seeing, don't be alarmed. I'll have this same grievance again when we get to talking about Kingdom Hearts 3. Instead of trying to think about what it makes me feel, even though that's definitely going to be a part of this, I wanted to talk about how each of the numbered titles differentiate from each other, in a purely mechanical sense. It's really interesting to think about how Sora has changed as a fighter over the years, and how the games have accommodated that in turn. I'm leaving out the games like Chain of Memories and Birth by Sleep, mostly because the non-numbered games like to go in a different direction with how you actually play the game. Some better, some worse. I'll revisit you, Birth by Sleep, at level 1. Oh, I'll revisit you. The best place to start is with a light explanation on Kingdom Hearts and its combat. One of the first things you have to understand is that at its core, Kingdom Hearts was, and arguably is, still inspired by old-school turn-based RPGs. Now, the gameplay that you're looking at will deceive you, but it's true. The way you can extrapolate this information is by looking at an important part of the HUD. Now, Kingdom Hearts fans, and non-fans who are watching this video, hi, thanks for being here. Secondly, I want you to grab your nearest PlayStation or Xbox controller and answer this question. Where's the attack button? You probably just said that it was the bottom face button, X or A depending on your gender. You'd be right if this was Birth by Sleep or Dream Drop Distance, but no. Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, 3, and Chain of Memories and 358 Days Over 2 do not have attack buttons. They have confirm buttons. That's the quintessential thing you have to understand about this little menu in the bottom left. There is no central attack button. These are commands that you can give to Sora, like a character in Final Fantasy. This is kind of like the hurdle you have to get over when thinking about Kingdom Hearts. The next thing to understand is that the game can and will guide you into what it thinks you want to do, which may or may not be an annoyance, but it's also something that a lot of people, myself included, love a lot. The ability system is how you change Sora's AI, essentially. Most of his abilities that are directly combat related have physical ranges where they are effective and are able to activate. Without any abilities, attacks will just have Sora swing his Keyblade forward, and that's fine in the early game, but it's when you unlock Sliding Dash that you start to understand the finer things about Sora's moveset. It's a smart system that weaves out attacks and abilities in succession to make combat feel as though you're hitting more buttons than you actually are. Animations are carrying a lot of the things that Sora is capable of doing, and it's your singular input that's causing it. Now, one of the things that you can do as the player is generally putting yourself in positions where you can maximize the output of Sora's abilities, namely with the lock-on system. It's your job to attempt to select targets that can get Sora to do certain moves. Many enemies around you, but there's one in the distance you really want to gap close into? Well, if you've slotted in Vicinity Break and Slide Dash, you'll quickly spin to damage enemies around you because the game knows that Vicinity Break is a combo opener. Slide Dash is also a combo opener, but these things have priorities to them, and Slide Dash has lower priority, so it'll activate after Vicinity Break and you'll dash forward. This is literally just one of the shit billion combinations running in the background of every Kingdom Hearts game. I censored those ones because it's funnier that way. That's just the main meat and potatoes of Kingdom Hearts. What I'm here to talk to you guys about is the, Okay, I'm gonna talk about an abstract concept relating to the numbered titles, but I don't know how to translate that into a food metaphor, so here's a picture of a burger I made. You can use one word each to describe the numbered titles in Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 1 is defensive. There's a lot of factors to this, but the smoking gun is looking at the customized menu. In Kingdom Hearts 2, you have all 4 buttons, and in Kingdom Hearts 3, you have all 4 buttons, on top of having 3 different sets to go through. The customized menu in Kingdom Hearts 1 only has X, square, and triangle to work with. This, however, still allows you to jump with no restrictions. This is because jumping, in Kingdom Hearts 1, is one of your most powerful tools. Kingdom Hearts 1 takes a lot more inspiration from adventure games than one would think. The worlds aren't always put together to be tackled in a linear fashion, or feature a central hub like in Kingdom Hearts 2, but they're meant to be explored in many different ways. Like, how many ways can you explore even just Traverse Town, or Wonderland even? Deep Jungle is the big piece of shit that makes you go from point A to point A again, but only after you've been to Route B, C, D, E, fuck you. I don't even like that song. Kingdom Hearts 1 treats your jump as something essential to Sora's kit because magic can be used in many more ways than just damaging something. It's a source of puzzle solving, and your jump always needs to be there. Not to mention, as a defensive tool, Sora basically always needs to be ready to go airborne, especially if you don't have guard or have to wait a while for it. Dodge roll is great, but it locks your attacks for a solid third of a second afterward, which is killer in an action game. The game incentivizes offensive attacks as well, ones that don't necessarily provide you with a counterattack in turn, but ones that at least cancel out whatever the enemy is doing. I'm assuming that whenever hitboxes are active and come in contact with each other, that's when techs happen. Techs are incentivized to the player as early as Destiny Islands, where you can tech many of the attacks that the kids throw at you. Teching gives you an extra experience point, or 36, which goes a long way in leveling you up faster, though you might not always feel it. In other games, EXP is only awarded on kill, so there's that. Kingdom Hearts 1 is also the only game in the series to award critical resources on level up, and not solely related to other elements such as certain boss defeats. These are, of course, HP and MP, therefore it's in your best interest to grind out an extra level or two just in case you come across something as powerful as boosts to these stats, or just as useful, boosts to your attack, defense, and AP. Magic as a stat point doesn't exist in Kingdom Hearts 1. Your base magic damage is tied directly to how much your maximum MP is, which is why Mage Sora is so powerful in Kingdom Hearts 1. It's powerful in other games too, but you really feel it in the first game. There's a lot of factors to KH1 being this way. You can even feel it in how the game treats an encounter. Let's look at the gorilla saving part of Deep Jungle. Enemies are just sitting there waiting for you to approach them, so you have time to figure out what to do. If you've noticed it by now, Sora's air combat game is incredible compared to being on the ground, so you can approach it from the air when it comes to physical combos. You've probably also learned, if you've done Olympus Coliseum, that Thunder is an AoE spell that isn't necessarily centered on one enemy, but does hit in a wide range. Blizzard is like a shotgun blast, and you can jump while casting in order to make it hit a greater amount of targets. It's a lot of things like this that make you feel like Sora's on his back foot most of the time. He hasn't gotten used to how the Keyblade really feels in his hands as a weapon, how to use magic, all of that. It's more of a story implication than a mechanical one, but you can feel his evolving combat skills in later games as well. The final factor is something I think helps my case, but it's entirely me speculating. But I think Sora being unfamiliar with how to fight with the Keyblade throughout the entire journey so far is why Sora can't engage with tertiary elements of the world while in combat. He's so focused on the main problem that there's a part of his brain that won't take the risk. He's always on the defensive. Sora can't open a chest because he's more worried about not dying. Sora won't touch an important puzzle element because he's worried about not dying. Sora is trying to play to what he understands. This is a real-ass sword for what it's worth. It's heavy, and it's a good thing he's the only character up until Kingdom Hearts 3 that primarily used this weapon as a two-handed sword. I'm not going to talk about Chain of Memories extensively, but you can feel the in-between of how Kingdom Hearts 1 treats Sora and how Kingdom Hearts 2 treats Sora, because you're generally being defensive in that you need to choose your cards semi-carefully, and you're stocking cards for slight attacks. You're watching out for what's going to happen, and you have to choose carefully on what you're going to do at any moment. You have to be reactive. Haha, funny. Kingdom Hearts 2 introduced reaction commands and it's the game that gets called reactive. You're funny. The irony isn't lost on me, but hear me out. Actually, I don't have to have you hear me out. If you've been a fan of this series for half as long as I have, you already know how Kingdom Hearts 2 is a very reactive game. The fact that reaction commands are even a thing says the world about everything that Kingdom Hearts 2 is doing and why it feels so good to play. Kingdom Hearts 2 is still the best game in the series, and no, that's not just the nostalgia talking. I have many reasons for thinking that. Even fodder enemies from the last game, like soldiers and large bodies, feel more dynamic to fight because you can watch out for the things they're doing and react accordingly. Large bodies don't just swing their arms, jump, and ram you anymore, they have a sliding attack that you can turn them around on in order to send them into other enemies or get them into better positions for you. That's just one enemy though. Imagine nearly every single one of them contextually having ways that you can fight them and use their abilities to your advantage. Techs are no longer in this game, but the recovery that Sora has upon clashing attacks is recovered from way more easily. You see how fast Sora can be knocked out of combat, but also how fast he's able to jump right back into the fray. Aerial recovery is damn near Sora's most important skill, because it's such a reactionary move that you almost don't even notice that you need to do it and act accordingly. You just react to the situation at hand. There's a lot of things that help my case here, but let's look at what might be the second biggest reason I said this. In Kingdom Hearts 1, your main form of defense was a spell that had to be regularly applied in order to maximize uptime. It's a pain in the ass, especially because you stop in place and are very vulnerable even while it's active. Sure, your incoming damage is reduced, but your overall idea is to still try to not get hit in the first place if you can manage it. Kingdom Hearts 2's main defensive skill is Reflect, which fires off basically instantly, letting you block against attacks super quickly. There absolutely are periods of time during and after the cast that leave Sora vulnerable. It has to be used carefully, but for all intents and purposes, it's almost like pressing an invincibility button. But Reflect doesn't just mean absorbing the damage. No, Reflect takes on some of the damage that gets sent into Sora and pumps it out back at whatever is around Sora, which can usually open them right up to being punished. A lot of the gameplay in Kingdom Hearts, in general, is avoiding the punish. Didn't dodge? That's a punish. Didn't recover in time? Continue to get punished. Reflect is how you even the odds. It's how you fight back 90% of the time. Not to mention, the hitboxes for Reflect are a bit bigger than what you think they are, and that the hitboxes still activate even if you're gunning for a combo yourself. Reflect allows Sora to punish, and that feels fucking amazing. The other thing that gets introduced in this game are form changes. I'm being vague since I take on 3 separate variations throughout the rest of the series, but hear me out. Sora's drive forms unlock the auto versions of their own skills, which allow you to reaction command into them whenever your HP gets down. I don't suggest equipping these, basically ever, but the option is there. The thing about the command menu in its default form is that it's still super reactionary to get to your drive forms. Way more than the other commands. Entering a drive form, no matter what it is, instantly refills your HP and MP, as well as instantly staggering any enemy that's near you, allowing you to instantly go into a juggle or get the fuck away from them depending on your choice of form. It's like the game is telling you that situations are going to get sticky, but you have the tools to deal with them at every step of the operation. Limits even allow you to react to the situation by making you totally invulnerable while they're firing off, meaning that you get to fuck around and find out almost completely safely while you're dealing massive amounts of damage. This is perfect! It's like Sora gets his own desperation move, but in keeping with the power of friendship that carries the entire series, you have to have party members with you to execute them. The final nail in the coffin for my reduction of Kingdom Hearts 2 is the way that it started to treat Cure, as an AoE spell centered on Sora that takes up all of your MP no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're at 1 MP or 100, casting Cure is a last-ditch effort that needs to be taken out of your back pocket very carefully, and puts you back on your back foot for a while. It's a reactive step to take because you definitely want to keep firing off MP until you need to cast Cure, but you need to make a judgment call on when to cast it. It's an interesting decision, one that adds just a bit more technical skill into the game than there really needed to be. In Kingdom Hearts 1, Cure had a standard cost, and that plays into how defensive you need to be because you have to pick moments to heal yourself or your party. but you had the ability to just blast the spell over and over again if you needed to. The change isn't universally loved, but I think that making it a spell that, for lack of a better word, has tech to it, is a good thing to do. A lot of the spells in this game actually have tech to them, the most useful of which is that every spell you cast that isn't a support spell like Cure, Reflect, and Magnet acts as combo finishers, which is important to remember once you learn that boss fights can only be killed with combo finishers. Kingdom Hearts 2 feels the best to play, in my opinion, mostly because you're constantly being given options depending on the enemy setup, and even more cinematic options depending on the boss, but you guys can definitely see that. Let's look at the camera too. It doesn't just whip you right around and forces you to hyper-focus on what's going on at the target you locked onto, it eases into the state and lets you see most of what's going on. A system they thankfully kept for the rest of the series. It's like a chess game with how enemies are laid out in any given encounter. The Battle of 1,000 Heartless is such an iconic piece of Kingdom Hearts media because you get these reaction commands to fuck around with at seemingly random times that you have to take on the opportunity every single chance you get to take out this gigantic horde that felt, at least at the time, insurmountable. The mob fights in this game almost feel like Halo levels of carefully placed together, to be honest, where changing the enemies you put in these situations may not look like they change how any given point of the game feels, but they do. It's important to keep that in mind when we talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3. Is proactive. Sorry if my audio sounds different, guys. I had to very abruptly move in the middle of this video's production. Now this is where my feelings might come apart because I don't have as much experience with Kingdom Hearts 3 as I do the other games in this series, but that's for a variety of reasons. Chief of which is that I didn't actually finish this game until this year, mostly because I had encountered a massive brain block when trying to play it for the first time back when it came out. I bought it day one, but my brain wouldn't let me finish the game until I forced myself to stream the whole thing. It's a whole mess. It's actually why most of the footage you're getting of Kingdom Hearts 3 right now is actually stream footage. I'm not replaying the game for you guys. I love you, but I didn't think I'd be here, or I would have planned ahead. The big thing that made me think about proactivity in Kingdom Hearts 3 is generally how Sora feels compared to Kingdom Hearts 2. I know comparing them isn't fair, but while I think that Kingdom Hearts 2 feels better to play on a regular basis, I think that Kingdom Hearts 3's evolution of Sora is much more interesting thematically, and sometimes does make me feel a lot better. Reaction commands were almost entirely removed, replaced with a Sora that's so capable on land and in the air that it's almost not missed. Almost. The big thing is that Sora doesn't really have anything to react to enemies with, so he has to put in the effort to not be in situations in the first place. If he ends up in them regardless, he's given a lot of ways to properly get out of them and reset his side of the field. Sora natively has the dodge feature, has an air dash, can double jump on top of high jumping, gliding is unlocked at the end of the game, and he can guard in the air. No barrier required. Sora in this game is tricked out, and you can see that in how the gameplay is built upon the flow meter. Instead of reaction commands, you steadily gain access to a host of situational commands. I like to think that Sora has to charge up these skills, which is why they're not available all the time. Grand Magic is super indicative of this, requiring you to use magic to charge up one super big cast that can change the tide of battle, depending on which one you get. Attraction commands, annoying as they might be, also playing this, require you to seek out a specific enemy that has the green reticle and going after them in order to set them up. Set up punchline, set up line. It's Sora not waiting for an opportunity to punish an enemy's fuck up, though that is absolutely the case. It's Sora creating a zone of influence that he has complete control over at any one time. Sora's other magic also has him actively trying to expand his territory in the battlefield before the enemy has a chance to take it from him, starting with Water. Water is Sora's most defensive spell, giving him invulnerability frames on cast before shooting out. It's not something that can stop almost all damage before staggering the enemy in question, but it is something in your back pocket that you can keep there just in case. One of Sora's skills allows him to use decreasing amounts of MP on repeat casts, actively making you want to spam spells where you can because it makes your life just a bit easier. Blizzard isn't a shotgun blast like in Kingdom Hearts 1, but it does leave a trail of ice on the ground, allowing you to close the gap to get more hits in. It's Sora making a path forward even if one isn't provided to him. Arrow is back, but it's not a barrier spell. It creates a tornado on target that can royally mess up whoever gets caught. Sora loses the ability to react to situations with magic, something almost guaranteed and something that saves him more times than he can count, but in turn gains the ability to pressure the enemy in so many ways. The biggest thing that really made me think about Sora as a fighter and how he develops are the form changes present in Kingdom Hearts 3. They don't restore you to an almost perfect state that you then have to maximize in the time you have left. No, you're still in the same critical state that you were before, but you're given access to brand new weapons depending on the Keyblades you have equipped. That's right, plural, because Sora can on the fly switch to any Keyblade that would be better suited to his situation, from a set of 3. Each Keyblade has a dedicated weapon associated with it, from spears to hammers to a shield, even more Keyblades, a whole host of things. Sora gets to use so many weapons that mess with his basic kit, and they can sometimes change into other weapons on top of that. Sora doesn't get these things by last minute pressing a button though. He has to engage in combat with the Keyblade he wants to transform, leading you to choosing in any situation which one you want to build up at any given moment. On top of this, his combat abilities change depending on the form he goes into. Looking at the game now, there are a lot more of these form changes than in Kingdom Hearts 2, but the thing is that they're shared among many of the Keyblades. Out of the 4 main forms that you gain access to, 3 Keyblades each have their abilities shared between them, except for Element form, which only has 2 Keyblades. These forms are Strike for physical attacking, Element for magic attacking, Guardian for defense, and Blitz for mobility. You can take 3 of them into battle with you at any one point, so you have to think about how you want to tackle upcoming encounters and press your advantages wherever possible. I certainly prefer Strike and Blitz form Keyblades over anything else, but that's assuming that I don't just run in with Ultimate form and fuck shit up like the badass that I am. I love Ultimate form so much. It's like a culmination of everything Sora is capable of, and feels like a natural thing to have when it comes to how he is at the end of the game in the first place. The main point is that Kingdom Hearts 3 feels like you're trying to push advantages that you already have on you, and making the absolute most of them at any point in time. The best way I can explain it is this. In Kingdom Hearts 1, Sora is defensive because he has a whole host of things going on in front of him. The enemy is coming to him because it's said that the Heartless are attracted to the Keyblade wielder out of fear. And Sora needs to hold on to whatever territory he has, deal with the problem first, and then take more as he can before needing to cover his bases once again. That's how playing Kingdom Hearts 1 feels. Kingdom Hearts 2 has Sora in mostly the same boat, but he's been given more to work with. The main difference is that with his newfound abilities, he can carve through the enemy line and deal with things as they come. He's able to take a hit and push back. The idea is that Sora's not worried about holding on to what he's got. This Sora's got it through his head that he's not out of the count until his HP reaches 0, and that's why he can take risks and form change and all of this other stuff. Kingdom Hearts 3 has Sora evenly matched across the field, and he's able to keep it that way through careful planning of every encounter. If not careful planning, then at least he has all of the tools necessary to stop losing territory and put his feet forward into capturing it back. Sora's a proper fighter in Kingdom Hearts 3, noted by his lack of need for the ability to refund all of his HP and MP at once unless he's willing to take a massive risk for it. There's a reason why his Rage form cuts his already dwindled HP in half in exchange for strength. There's also a reason why Risk charges the way that it is, further destroying his HP. Sora is perfectly aware of the things that he's doing in that form, unlike Anti-form, which is a punishment for being too reactionary. But hey, there's nothing I can tell you to do at this point other than to go play Kingdom Hearts. The entire series is up on Steam in the Epic Games Store, and it makes me beyond happy that I get to say that. Steam, at least. I hope you guys understand Kingdom Hearts now. At least mechanically speaking. If you liked what you saw here, please consider going and hitting that nice subscribe button. Did it light up? I want to know if the button lit up. That's a cool thing that YouTube started doing when you say things like subscribe or like this video. And apparently it works, so I'm going to keep doing it. And this part isn't in the script, but speaking of my abrupt move, if you guys want to help out in any way, I would really appreciate you guys going down to the description and possibly donating to my Ko-Fi page. I don't want to get into it, but this move was not something that anybody in my family was prepared for. It was very sudden. We had maybe a week to get out of our apartment. And I had been there for a lot of years in my life, and I wasn't ready to say goodbye to all of the things that made it home. I don't know when I'll be okay. I'm working toward it. But if you guys would help me out, I would be eternally grateful. With all of that said, my name is Sonata. Thank you for watching.
I've gotta stop with that shit, cause I'm Space is fucking cool, so how you talk about space with